And also, before I tell you a little bit about us, I do want to thank you, this church, and some of you probably know, but you've been very helpful to our people experiencing homelessness. You had a shelter, a cold weather shelter here a few years ago, and it was wonderful. It was a great space, and your volunteers were wonderful. We also had our own as well. And then you've also been very generous with your contributions when we couldn't have an inside space. And we did, over the last 2 years, because of COVID, just outdoor assistance, giving people MARTA cards so they could get to a shelter, and all the things they would need to hopefully stay warm, sleeping bags and many other things. So I just want to say that. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So we started our organization in 2017, and just a few of us came together and realized that there were just too many people unhoused in the community. And so we started meeting with everybody who was working in this field, and especially Decatur County. We thought maybe we could be helpful to them, but we ended up realizing that we were probably going to have to start our own organization. And of course, we didn't have any money to start, so we did start small with cold weather shelters because there really wasn't anything in the county for people to go to. So it could be pretty affordable to do something like that if you had a church offering their space. So we had your church and St. Peter's and Paul Catholic Church, and then the next year we had First United Methodist. Unfortunately, as I said, we haven't been able to get a church, because of COVID since then, but we're desperately hoping for one or two this coming year. So we started with that, and then as people started knowing about us, we started raising more money and started doing what we really planned and hoped to do in the first place, which was helping people get into housing, permanent housing. So we've been very fortunate and raised a fair amount of money in that way, and to this day we've housed 65 people in their own apartments. And I think we're going to be doing a lot more because we're getting tons of calls, and it's really sad what's going on in our country. So then the other thing that we started, and your friend Annie has been very helpful in this. She is our secretary of our board. Our plan was to permanently house people and make sure that it would be affordable, because apartments are still expensive, so it could only be for people who had a pretty good income. But we have tons of people experiencing homelessness who are just living on Social Security, of about $800 a month now. So after tons of research, and we had a big committee exploring all this around the country and all the things that you mentioned, like the container homes and everything, we would have loved to do tiny homes, container homes, but our problem was, where do you put them? You have to have the land. We couldn't afford that kind of land, plus the zoning. Oh, forget it. That'd be just about impossible. So we decided to start with buying homes. Well, we're about to buy our first one with so that 3 people could share it. So at least they'd have a nice place to stay. And we've raised enough money for that. Some of you who contributed might be here. About $245,000. And United Way matched some of our money, and they're giving us $50,000. So that's included in the $245,000. So we will be buying a house any day, and we hope that the community will help us buy more houses, because we really don't know another way to do it if our federal government isn't going to give more money to realize that everybody does deserve a home, and the people who don't have one, it's not their fault. There's so many factors involved. So I don't want to keep talking, I know it's getting late.